This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi, and welcome to Have a Chat. I am your host today for this special segment, Veronique Arsenault, and I am joined by the incredible Chief Paul Flyander of the Miramichi Police Force. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so glad that you took the time. It's we've gotten to do two very special shows. So this is one of them with the Miramichi Police Force and the other with the Miramichi Fire Department. So we're very grateful to both departments to take some time and spend with us, especially with the holidays just around the corner.
Yes. Yep.
Hard to believe that
I
it's
know,
that time of year.
time is flying.
I don't know how we got here. It feels like it should be about September.
That's right.
Yeah.
It should.
Now, of course, I know you well, but for the viewers out there who don't, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I've been doing this job in February, it'll be 44 years. I'd love to say I was 10 years old when I started, but
Yeah, I understand.
I was 20.
Yeah.
So I'm married. My wife Carmel and I have two boys. Our oldest son, Grant, is a member of the force here. Mm-hmm. And Alex is well known in the community because of his involvement in Special Olympics. And,
He's quite the athlete.
Yeah, he is. He does swimming, and he's involved in bowling, and he's the referee for floor hockey.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah. So he stays active, and we have two grandsons. One will be 5 later this month, and the other will be 8.
I'm sure they don't keep you busy at all.
Oh, they do, and
Yeah.
we enjoy it.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's those days spent with Grampy, that really make
Yeah.
the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, you can spoil them rotten and then send them back home.
Fill them full of sugar and
That's
then
right.
off you go.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you been chief?
So I started as chief on January 1st, 2012. So
Okay.
I'm just finishing up my 12th year.
Incredible.
And I was deputy from 2005 until 2012.
Yeah.
Time has flown.
I know. I don't know where the time has gone, and it's funny. It seems like I don't remember a time when you weren't chief, but of course I remember our former chief Campbell as well.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, we're so glad to have you today.
Well, happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's take a look back over the last year. What are
Yeah.
some of the milestones that the police force has accomplished, and you yourself?
So it's been a busy year. We generally do about 12,000 calls per year.
12,000.
12,000, and this year right now we are 700 over where we were last year at this time. So it looks right now that we will be doing in excess of 13,000 calls.
That's
this
incredible.
year. So it is a lot of calls. It's busy. As you know, the city geographically is very big. You know, and the population, it'll be interesting when the new census comes
Yeah.
out to see what our population is, because we've had a great influx of newcomers, and I'll talk about that a little bit later
Yeah.
there, how we stay connected there. But it's been an exciting year. We just finished up a managerial review. So the Department of Justice and Public Safety have been doing managerial reviews, which basically an audit of police forces throughout the province. They're doing everybody. And we had ours several weeks ago, and it's a 5-day process. There's a team that comes in and does the audit. So the report, when it is finalized, will come to myself as well as the mayor and council for review. We've met with the team, and we were very happy with the results of the audit. So yeah, I mean, it's like anything. There's always recommendations to be found, but there's nothing major, so we were very happy about that.
Amazing.
So our community services officer, and I know you're going to be speaking with him later, and you'll hear me mention that a few times throughout this afternoon, but that has been a real key component over the last year. We've really enhanced the role of the community services officer. He has been getting into schools. He's going to, Logier Hall. It does a walkthrough there, which is great, and as well as across the river at the other Shaniks. And he's been connecting with the downtowns, talking to the business owners and managers, doing foot patrols, and finding out what the issues are there. And then part of it this year, we always have students from NBCC who do their work practicum with us for 8 weeks. So this year, a couple of the members had suggested an idea where they went around to all the businesses in both downtowns and did a video camera surveillance survey. So what they did was they went to each business and they noted whether they had cameras inside and outside as well, and what the outstanding issues were that they felt in the downtowns, which was very helpful to us. The cameras, having that survey, that information is really good for us, because if we have something happen in a specific area, we know who has exterior cameras, and you can almost piece it together. So
right, and you always see
right?
that on the crime shows,
So
right?
it's valuable.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
great information. Now, obviously, we keep it very confidential because we don't want to put it out there who has cameras and where the location.
Yep.
But it is very helpful to us. So that was done during their 8-week practicum with us, and they were very well received by the businesses. But another thing which we did this year, starting in January, is we started a dedicated 2-person traffic unit. So as we know, speeding and other traffic infractions, they're always front and center. Everyone talks about them.
Yeah.
So of course, last year during the budget cycle, a proposal was made to council, and council, fully accepted it, which was great. So starting in January, we started this dedicated traffic unit of 2 persons. And they work all days, and they do enforcement, but they also do education. They do escorts for bridge and other wide load escorts. They do all the motor vehicle accidents when they're working. So it's really taken a lot of pressure and workload off of the patrol officers for them to continue doing the work that they're doing. So it's been a real win-win.
That's awesome.
Having that.
And it's funny, I've heard that increased presence, from usually friends who have gotten caught doing something they shouldn't.
And usually that's where you hear it from, right? So,
but it was good because as you talked about, there was an education component to it as well, which was really great. But when we joke about that, and they a couple of my friends are like, "Oh my goodness, they're everywhere." I'm like, "I know, isn't that great?"
Yeah, it is, and I mean, enforcement is part of it. It's not everything, right? And I mean, as far as tickets, the numbers have certainly increased because, there's offenses out there. Yeah. But it's also been that education piece that is as important as the enforcement side.
Well, we've all had those moments when we have a little bit more of a lead foot than we should have, right? But I am proud to say it's been some years since I've done something that I shouldn't, right. Which is good. Which is good.
It's human nature. We all make mistakes, right? Nobody is perfect. So, but anyway, that's been really successful. Our integrated enforcement unit. So that's comprised of there's 2 members from Miramichi. There's a member of the RCMP and a member from Justice and Public Safety. So they're housed here in our facility, and basically they are covering Northumberland County on the drug enforcement side and gaining intelligence, and they have made a number of significant seizures over the last year. And they're one of 7 in the province, and they're all working together and sharing information, which has been really phenomenal. Nobody's working in silos, so to speak. The information's being shared, and they have the results have been really good, and we're excited about that. And it not only helps the city of Miramichi, but it helps the whole area. And of course, as we know, crime has no borders, right?
Well, and that's the thing, right? And I think it's it's amazing though to see how much is actually happening, within the police force and the city, but also just around, like outside of our boundaries, we'll call for the city, right? Yep. Because you're not restricted just to the downtowns.
No,
right?
No, exactly.
Yeah, and especially with the drug, the trilateral partnership, right?
Yeah.
So you actually can go outside of the city limits.
Absolutely,
right?
and it's been great because unfortunately the drug dealers move around, right? And they may be in the city or they may move out, but with these units that are in place, they're going to be tracking them down no matter where they're at. So it's been really good.
It's something that I've always marveled at, especially with the city police force, and is that although the RCMP would be responsible for areas outside of the city boundaries, several years ago in the beginning of my mom's Alzheimer's journey, she thought someone was breaking into the house in Schooner Point in Napan, and called, 911, because she'd phoned me, and I said, called 911 right away. And of course, the RCMP was a little further away.
Right.
So the Miramichi Police Force went out right away,
Yes.
to be with her, to make sure that everything was okay, to do the search, because it was in the evening, and then waited for the RCMP to arrive.
Right.
So it was a fantastic show of partnership already, and that was 4 years ago.
Yes.
So I can only imagine how much it's improved.
No, and I mean, really, like with our partners, the RCMP and Department of Justice and Public Safety, who have taken on a greater role in the province, those are so important, because we rely on one another. It doesn't matter what color the stripe is, we're all doing the same job, and at the end of the day, it's for the common good.
Right.
So those are important.
Well, that's wonderful. When you talk about fostering better community engagement, and I love the partnerships that you've done over the years with MBCC and things like that, but how are you working towards better fostering that engagement in the community?
So part of that is being involved with the different organizations in the community. So for instance, the downtowns, the historic Chatham Business District, the Newcastle Business District. So it's important for us to be involved with those organizations and to sit. We have a member that sits as a liaison. So, attend the meetings, and historic Chatham district, there had been a bit of a break there, but we are back on board, and which is great. And by having those connections, of course, we hear firsthand what the issues are, and so that way the community service officer will be attending those. He'll bring back the feedback and what the concerns, issues are, and then we'll look at them and deal with them. Yeah. But that's important. MBCC, I can't say enough about the relationship we have there. Yeah. It goes back a lot of years. Sergeant Bob Bruce,
yes.
Started that back.
Yes, he did.
Back when the city first amalgamated. So, but yeah, and it's just every year it seems to get bigger and bigger. And it's been great. Our members go there. They give presentations, different members. The students love that, and in turn, they have their School of Excellence now. They have a driver simulator. They have a use of force simulator.
That's
which
incredible.
The closest one is the Atlantic Police Academy. So we have had the opportunity to use that. Our use of force instructors have used it, training our own personnel, and it's right here in our own backyard, which is great. So it's a win-win.
I don't know that we forget, but we don't realize what we really have here.
Absolutely.
In the area sometimes. Yep. All of these things are kind of happening in the background, and you don't, until you get to talk about them, you don't really understand that we've got some great stuff here.
Absolutely. No, and it's a dynamic partnership, but and of course we have there's MAD, there's the different schools. I mean, again, as far as accessing whatever we need, we use some of the schools. This past summer, active shooter training, which is very important. Yeah. So we get to use those facilities, which is great. God forbid that we ever have to deploy, but at least we're familiar with the buildings, and it's great training for the members. So it's building relationships, and be it social development. One of the ones that I can't speak enough about, and is the mobile mental health crisis unit. Yeah. That has been a godsend for our members here. So they started out working 8 hours a day, and now it's increased to 12 hours a day, really? Which is really good. I'd love to see it 24/7, and hopefully at some point we'll get to that. But of course it comes down to staffing and budget dollars, and we get that. But they do have an after-hours referral, so our members will make referrals after hours, and they follow up. But they have really, really helped our members big time. Just for instance, in 2022, up until the end of October, I just checked the stats, we interacted with them 113 times. Up until October of this year, it was 185.
Wow.
So it's, mental health, there's a lot, we all know. It's front and center right now.
Absolutely.
In all communities. So, another thing that they have done, next to kin notifications, which are always difficult,
Yeah.
and they will attend as well with the
Really,
members
eh?
if they're working. So I mean, and they have resources that's available to people. So it's been really, really good.
Yeah, that's incredible, and it really does. It continues to build those partnerships, but also that sense of community for everybody. And
Yes, it does.
that the mobile mental health crisis unit is something really remarkable in our area, and,
It is.
and thankful that they can go on the calls, with the constables, so that there is the right amount of support, the right support
Yes.
in place when you come across those situations. So
And today, I mean, it's before they were in place, it would be you would detain the person under the Mental Health Act, take them to the hospital, go through that process. Today, they will either go to our detention facility or they'll come to the soft interview room that's here in
Right.
headquarters and sit down and evaluate the person, and maybe they don't have to be
Right.
taken to the hospital,
Yeah.
right? And they'll do follow-up with those individuals.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's the
it's good.
appropriate use of resources, right? So they
Absolutely.
may not. So it frees up the hospital for those
Yep.
that need the hospital care, and gets the right care for those who are in mental health crisis.
That's right.
So
and
that's
it frees up our members as well.
Yeah, and hopefully, as you say, at some point, we'll
It expands.
Yeah.
We're happy with what's
Yeah,
in
of
place, don't
course.
get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it would be,
Yeah.
it would be nice to see it grow as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about some of the initiatives and programs that the Miramichi Police Force has that, talks about specific safety concerns within the community and the impact social media has on that
Yeah.
sometimes.
So social media, it can be your friend.
Yes, it can be the very best.
It can work for you or it can work
Yeah,
against you, right?
absolutely.
So one of the things, social media, I mean, we're using it more and more, certainly to our advantage. And it's, I'll give you an example. We had an armed robbery here just
Yeah.
recently.
Absolutely.
So, immediately we put out a post of the individual, and the individual was masked. And, the information that came in from the public was incredible. And, it led to us several hours later making an arrest
Right.
because the individual was identified. So, that is the power of social media, working for
the
us,
good.
right?
Yeah.
So then, of course, it can work against you sometimes because, we've seen it in the news and whatnot. You see a snippet of an incident,
Absolutely.
an interaction between an officer and an individual, right?
Yep.
But you don't see what happens before or what happens after.
Right.
So last year, we deployed body cameras.
Okay.
So, which has really, I don't mind saying, back several years ago when body cameras first came out and they were certainly being used, I was a little skeptical,
Yep.
not knowing all the pros and cons of it. And today, I can say that they are one of the best things that ever happened.
Really?
And the membership certainly feels the same way.
Interesting.
It provides as much protection for them
Yep.
as it does for the individuals they're dealing
Absolutely.
with. So we've had cases where individuals make complaints against officers, this or that.
Yep.
We go in, we review the body camera, and the video doesn't lie.
Right.
And it has exonerated officers more than anything else. And if someone does something that they need to be held accountable for, then
Yeah.
we will deal with that as well. But so but the social media, it's one of those things that you can use it to your advantage for education, being proactive. I mean, there's all kinds of scams out there. So the more information we can get out on social media about this scam, that one, especially this time of the year, it seems to heat up big time with Christmas coming.
It's incredible.
Right? And it's,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I mean, they zero in on people and, and once the money goes, that's it. There's no getting it back.
And you see it so and I hear it so often, with my own family members that are seniors. Like they tend
Yes.
to be targeted. They get an email and it seems like it's coming from somebody that or
Yep.
somebody that could be legitimate, and all of a sudden you're sending off money because
That's right.
they're in desperate need. And it's funny actually. A couple of years ago, Dad was still working overseas, and we got a kind of a garbled call at the house, and it was we need to talk to Mr. Roger Arsenault, and this is the police in Toronto, and there's been an incident or whatever, and so I will admit I panicked a bit, right? But then I Googled,
Yes.
right, and I Googled the officer's name that they had left, and found the scam online,
Right.
that they were describing, but like it sounded to us even legitimate because they had left a really detailed message.
Yeah. They give enough information to kind of bait you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And not go any further, and then and unfortunately people fall for it.
Yeah.
And they don't always report it, which is unfortunate because they feel embarrassed, but you know what? We want them to report it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, everyone makes mistakes and people get caught up in things, right?
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
Why women want to vote.
Oh, really?
The first time Nellie McClung saw the Premier about votes for women,
Things are changing. Good day, sir.
it didn't go too well for McClung.
Take it from me, Mrs. McClung. Nice women don't want the vote.
So then she staged a mock parliament attacking votes for men.
Think what would happen if we actually allowed men to vote. Why, they would become obsessed with politics. Politics are like drinks. Once you start, if men started voting, families would be disrupted. Divorces would follow. Madam Speaker, take it from me. Nice men don't want the vote.
After a long campaign, Manitoba's women became the first to get the provincial vote. The next time they met, in a polling station, it didn't go too well for the Premier.
Premier Roblin, I'm sure you don't want your photograph taken with a woman who's not nice. Gentlemen.
I have noticed, like with the social media that the Miramichi Police Force uses, is that it's much easier now to connect, like to what the constables are doing and what's going on, in the city, and that's something, because it's been very active in a positive way. So I can understand using it for good, using the powers for good, because it can be a challenge on social media. No question.
It can, but you know what? You have to embrace it and use it to your advantage. And there's always going to be the naysayers and whatnot. Well, that's part of life anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, as far as getting news out, as far as incidents that happen, and because of course, as we all know, there's more and more news medias that are closing down, and it's harder to get the message out. So you have to rely on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good.
Side of it.
Yeah, and we'll just touch on it, I guess, as a side note. So, you've used it in the past, like, to get the word out on missing people and things like that, because there's very strict criteria to send out like an Amber Alert or a I don't think we have silver alerts here in Canada, do we?
No.
But there's very strict criteria.
Absolutely.
So this is a way not around it, but at least to utilize what you have at that time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I mean, we did have an Amber Alert here in the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, it was the first one released in New Brunswick in quite a while, and it was successful. But there is a very strict criteria, and there should be, because I mean, when you send out an alert like that, there's a reason for it. But using your own social media, it's very beneficial.
Yeah, it connects to many more people than you can imagine. So we've talked a bit about technology with social media.
Yes.
But what ways has the department utilized technology to improve services, or really to improve your own work in the day to day.
Right. So I had touched on the body cameras, so that's a very important component. We do have in-car video camera systems as well. So we've had those since 2007, and a couple of years ago we refreshed, and it was old technology, it was DVDs and whatnot. So today's technology, and all of the frontline patrol vehicles are equipped with that, is when they pull into the parking lot here, there's an external antenna, and they automatically upload to a server all of the information that's from that specific vehicle. So the in-car cameras have provided, they're as valuable as the body cameras, because in incidents, of course, it captures everything. There's also a camera inside of the car that faces into the back seat. So if you're carrying a prisoner in the back seat and they're, irrational, beating their head off of the shield, stuff like that, it's all captured, as well as an internal microphone. So it captures all of that.
Okay, so you can both see and hear.
Both see and hear.
Okay.
So again, if an individual makes a complaint that the officer did something inappropriate as far as roughing them up or whatever, it's all captured on video. And as far as driving evidence, impaired driving, things like that, it's all captured.
Oh, amazing.
So it's really good. Another thing which has really proved to be very beneficial. So we're starting down the road of e-ticketing, where everything is done electronically as opposed to written.
Better for the environment.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's much safer for the officers as well. They're
Yep.
not sitting there with their heads down as much.
Right.
They scan the driver's license on a card reader.
Okay.
All of the information is populated into the ticket, and it's printed off right in the vehicle. But with that, all of the frontline vehicles are equipped with laptop computers. So the officers now can do their reports right in the vehicle. So
it's fresh in their minds.
Absolutely.
Right.
Plus the city's broken into 4 zones. So 2 of the zones have an office. Headquarters here in zone 3, and in Newcastle behind the courthouse, zone 1. But for the other zones, the officers used to have to travel to one of the 2 offices to do the paperwork.
Right.
And now they can do it right from their vehicles. So they stay in that zone, which is great for
where
coverage,
they're working,
right?
Yep.
And visibility and all of that. Plus they can do queries and whatnot right from the vehicle. So it's been really, really beneficial. It's efficient, and it keeps the officers in their zones, and they really love it.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a very young force now. The last couple of years we went through a lot of turnover, and of course the younger members, they just love the technology side of it, right? Which is understandable.
Well, and it must improve efficiency as well, because they're not driving back and forth. So
That's right.
Less greenhouse gas emissions,
Nope,
right?
absolutely.
Less wear and tear on the vehicles,
Yes.
less gas consumption, and better coverage for the zone that they're in. So really, it does improve just about every aspect.
Absolutely. And response time remains good,
Right.
because they're in that zone, right?
Yeah.
So if a call comes in, it's, they're not coming from another zone, or an officer from another zone has to cover off.
Right.
So so it's been very, very beneficial. And then of course another big component that has been a major project is the next generation 911.
Right.
So that we have a number of staff members here that are on different committees, and that has been a real work in progress. So there's 6 PSAPs in the province. We have one here. And the new technology is going to be amazing what can be done, but it's a lot of work to get there to the end goal. But all of the PSAPs are working together, and it's input from everybody. It's being led, of course, by the province and NB 911. But that has been, there's not a month goes by that there isn't 4 or 5 or more meetings held.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of them are done on Teams, which is great. Yeah. So it cuts down on the travel and whatnot, which is really good, right?
Yeah, for sure. And Teams, we use it at work as well. So it's really changed the world, really.
It has.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then another aspect of technology is what we call eJust. So eJust, before, when we had to prepare a package for the Crown Prosecutor for review, it was a big stack of paper, photocopied, multiple copies, one for the accused, one for the Crown, all of that. Now it's all done electronically. So it's sent from here right to the Crown's office electronically. They review it, and then they provide it to the accused.
Oh, wow.
So it's a different world altogether,
Yeah.
and you know, it cuts
From when
down,
you started 44
exactly,
years ago.
and it cuts down on a lot of paperwork and a lot of time, because I mean, you know, a lot of the times it was the officers that were making all these multiple copies
Right.
and all of that. So
Yeah.
today, you know, technology has moved things along.
Wow. So technology is great, but let's talk about the people in your department for a bit.
Yes.
And what are you doing, you know, as a leadership team, as a police force, to prioritize mental health and well-being for your police force?
So that's a very good question, and it is incredibly important today. You know, years ago, it was unheard of. I mean, you know, you talk to the veterans, right? My father-in-law was a veteran from the Second World War.
Yep.
Very seldom would they ever talk about it. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, it was one of those things they lived with and, you know, carried for their entire life, right?
Yep.
So one of the things we do is if we have a major incident, be it an accident, anything that's traumatic, we set up a critical incident debriefing. So back a couple of years ago, we used to set one up, and then fire would do one, ambulance would do one. Today, it's all agencies together.
Okay.
So everybody gets into a room and they talk about it, and it's led by mental health. They come in and they monitor and you know, basically look after organizing it, and then everybody comes together, all of the ones that are involved, and they talk about it. And that's very important.
So it's not just swept under the rug anymore. And you know, my dad's from that generation. You know, he's a veteran and has been in active combat zones and still doesn't talk about it.
Exactly.
You know, because that's not what you did.
No, you kept it to yourself, and
you dealt with it.
Yep, exactly.
Or you didn't.
Exactly. Right. So I mean, those are important to have those. The employee assistance program, that's important as well, and I mean, the city, you know, has the resources. It's in place, and we make sure that our staff are aware that EAP is there. If they need it, it's a referral, you know. And this past year, it was organized. We had an event back at NBCC. They let us use the lecture theater. And it was a presentation for first responders on critical incident response and aftermath. So we reached out to our partners here, and we had our staff members, fire, RCMP, Justice and Public Safety, and Ambulance New Brunswick. We had 61 people attended. Wow. And it was a very good session. It was held during the morning, and it was well received. So, you know, those type of things, again, putting everybody in the room and letting them know what resources are available.
Yeah.
And, you know, we hope that they reach out, and we always, you know, try to be mindful that when something does happen, one of the first things, you know, are you okay? And, you know, it's important.
Yeah.
And,
and sometimes that check-in is exactly what you need,
yes.
right? When you're dealing, and I can't even imagine with the things that you all see and do every day, how tough that is. It's I think for the regular person on the street, incomprehensible.
Yes.
So glad that there's, you know, been a prioritization around that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's one of those things you can't sweep under the carpet.
So our segment is almost over, so I'm going to ask you one last question.
Sure.
One last question, and it's a lighter one.
Yep.
So what are some of the unique or fun traditions within the department that, you know, helps to foster, you know, or, you know, have that team building?
So, I mean, within the department, the platoons and the different sections, they have their own gatherings, you know, which is great because, you know, it's team building and things like that. But we have other events. So this past spring, we had the Guns and Hoses hockey game.
Right.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
The fire department versus police,
that
right? And that's always a good.
That was a great game. Yep.
And you know, it was great, and you know, they're talking about doing it again this coming spring.
Good.
But I mean, that helps build, right? On both departments and people working
There's
together.
a good little rivalry going there.
There was, and you know what? Special Olympics is near and dear to my heart.
Yep.
And you know, we were winners because they raised $4,800.
I know, and the Timberwolves have jumped in as well. I've gotten to see them. They played floor hockey, I think, against the Special Olympic team the other day. Like, it's just, I love that stuff.
Yeah. So we've done a couple of other things. We as well, the police, we play the Special Olympics, right? The athletes, and of course, seems like they always win, of course. But
as they should.
Yes.
Because they're better than you.
Yeah,
And
but that helps too, right?
Yeah.
As far as team building, and then there's a couple of other things going back to MBCC. I keep circling back to that, but it's
well, it's been a
important.
very active partnership, right?
Exactly. So what we have when the students come for their practicum, at the end of the practicum, we have a fitness challenge. So we have officers from here and the students who will do different competitions for fitness. And so, I mean, again, that, gets everybody in the spirit. And then something Sergeant Bruce started, we just had the third one, is the 911 challenge push.
Right, yes, I did.
So,
I saw that on social media.
So the Atlantic 911 ride started in 2015, and it goes from province to province each year. And what they do is they raise money in support of fallen first responders, and they put defibrillators in communities with the funds that are raised. We are fortunate enough this year, because of Sergeant Bruce's involvement and other members who go every year, we are hosting it here in Miramichi in June.
Okay.
So, which is going to be a good thing.
Exciting.
So, I mean, that helps, right? This year, because the force is much younger, MAP, the Miramichi Association of Police Professionals, are having a Christmas party for the children, which is great to see, because back, a number of years ago when I first joined the force and stuff, we had those. Then as the members got older and the children were older, there really wasn't a need for it.
Right.
So, that's good. And going back to the managerial review, which I talked about earlier, just a couple of things. So there was an employee satisfaction survey was part of this review. So it's done, a Survey Monkey. It's sent out to all of the members with the exception of management. So, employees being satisfied with their job and enjoyed being a member of both MPF scored 100% on each.
Really?
Yeah, which, we're very proud of.
Yeah.
And the employee work, personal life also scored 100%.
Amazing.
So, which is good that, the membership are finding
they're
that
feeling
balance.
It. Yeah, they're feeling
right?
it. Yeah.
So,
which is amazing.
Yeah, those things are important for sure.
Well, I really want to thank you for taking the time to spend
Thank
with
you.
me today, and wishing you and your family happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that.
And the same to you and to all your viewers. Have a safe and happy holiday. And if there's one thing I can say, traffic increases more during the Christmas time.
Absolutely.
Be patient with one another.
That's a
and
great
be kind,
idea.
right? Because we all get to the point that, our patience, but just be patient with one another and be good to one another.
I love it. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you.
So we also laid out a full-size model of the ridge for the men to practice on. They know where every German strongpoint is, every machine gun, every bunker.
General Hurry, you do know the French have tried for the last year to take Vimy Ridge, yes? And that we also...
I know, sir.
What exactly makes you,
Our guns will begin at dawn.
My dear wife, this may be my last letter to you. We go into action in 20 minutes. It's the biggest thing I've ever been in.
At precisely 0500, the men will move out of the tunnels, keeping precisely 300 yards behind the creeping barrage.
Dear Mother, as I looked to right and left, all I could see was Canadians.
By 5 o'clock, Vimy Ridge was ours.
And Mother, I thought, we are a nation. This is us.
It was the first significant victory of the war.
and welcome to the segment of Have a Chat. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loge, and I'm so excited to actually be in the Miramichi Police Station with the Miramichi Police Force Officer, Constable Jason Lavoie, and he is the Miramichi Community Services Officer. And I'm not in handcuffs. This is going to be a really good interview, Jason. So listen, I want you first of all to tell anyone that's out there that does not know you a little bit about yourself personally. You know, where you grew up and that kind of thing.
I grew up here locally in Castles, which would be towards Red Bank, in between the fish hatchery, for a lot of people will refer to it for a landmark, so to speak. So I grew up here. I have 9 siblings.
Wow.
I'm the youngest out of 10. There's 5 boys and 5 girls. I have 3 sons, 8, 24, and 29.
There.
1 granddaughter.
Beautiful.
And I've lived here my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born and bred.
Yeah.
Just like myself, except I'm the eldest. So, Constable Lavoie, can you just start by explaining for all of the viewers exactly what a police community services officer does?
What one of my main goals is to try and have a positive interaction in the community. Most times when police respond to a call of an accident or a break-and-enter or a theft, we don't really have the time to spend with people. It's not always a positive experience for some of the people that we are interacting with. So one of the sole purposes is to get out there and make a positive influence on our youth, positive interaction with our youth, and adults and seniors and whoever we may interact with.
Yes, and has that been a very positive experience for the most part for you? Are you
It
reaching
has.
your goal?
It's a different side of policing.
It is.
It is. It's not. I mean, I'm not responding to the calls of the thefts or the break-and-enters. I'm responding more to maybe. You know, a lot. For instance, next week I'm going to sit in on a law class at MVHS, answer a few questions that the kids may have, and just engage a positive interaction.
I really, really like that whole idea.
Yeah.
And I think you're the guy for it too. Good role for you. So I want to know, first of all, what have been some of the highlights for the police community services team in Miramichi, say this past year? I've taken on this role since the 1st of October. So just to touch base on a few things that I've personally done, we took part in the trunk or treat recently. That was a big hit in the city and always is every year. Yes.
We had approximately 1,700 kids come through that we handed out treats to, and with parents and grandparents and whatnot that you know strolled through the line to see all the decorations in the vehicles. There was around 5,000 people.
Oh my gosh,
attended.
That's huge.
So it's a big number, and it's a big event that the Point Church organizes and puts on here every year.
So exciting for the children and
It
the
is.
parents to know that their child's being, attended to by police, as watching over them, protecting them, and that you're participating in something that is not just on a serious note, on a fun note.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, they see you in a different light.
Yeah. Can you share a heartwarming, inspiring story, perhaps with us, from your work in the community? Just something particular that jumps to mind.
Recently, I was at my youngest son's cross-country event at Gretna Green. So while we were leaving, a little boy come up to me. It's funny, but it's heartfelt at the same time. But he come up to me with the old crocodile tears running down his face, crying his eyes out, very hard to understand, and from crying.
Yeah.
And when he seen me there, because I was in uniform, it was coming on the end of my shift, so I attended before I went home. He had to confess that while playing at home, he accidentally went on his neighbor's property.
Stop.
Him and his friend that were playing. So as a result, when he seen me, he had to get that off his chest.
Confessional.
He confessed on the spot.
Funny.
So the following day, I gathered up a water bottle and a pencil and a few other odds and ends that we have here at the department, and I visited him at King Street Elementary and dropped them off to him. So while there, I had spoke briefly with the principal and staff that was at the front door when I had come in, and they had called him down. So he reached out to give me a big hug before I left. The principal's almost in tears. It was emotional for the little boy and for the staff, and it was nice to see a positive spin on things, I guess.
But it is very entertaining too when it does happen, and then like I said, it was beautiful for both of you.
Because very innocent, but yet he still felt he did something wrong and needed to.
He owned up.
Needed to. Yeah.
Come clean.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll have changed his whole future after
Who
this.
knows?
You know what I mean? He might be one of these upstanding residents forever and ever because of that moment. So, Constable LeBoy, what are some of the upcoming initiatives that you, in your role as community services officer, have planned for the upcoming year?
Next year, we're planning. COVID was a big burden on community services and everything. It just completely disrupted our life. So next year, one of the programs that we are planning on reintroducing is the Kids and Cops, which is it's a week-long day camp. It's in conjunction with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, who plays a big role in our community. And the kids come in and we do different aspects as far as learning to fingerprint and photographs and crime scene investigation, and it's really geared up for the younger kids and an interaction with police on a positive note, and to get them engaged and open up doors and windows for them type thing, and to shed a different light on things.
So what is the work of a community services officer? Like, why is that so important for communities such as ours?
Not just ours, it's important in every community, but we're not always, and as I said earlier, it's one of those things where we're trying to engage in a positive atmosphere. Whether it's stopping in at the school, not because I got a call to the school, but just to go in and say hi.
That's good.
To interact with the kids. Hey, how's lunch today? Or see what the kids are working on in the woodworking shop, or stroll through and, talk to them about their sports and how things are going.
Not just for the trouble scenes, it's for the, like you said, the more warm and positive impact. So that's every police department that would hopefully have. By the way, are you the only one that does this, or when you say
I am.
you're the only one that does all of this?
Now, with that being said, if there's a larger event going on, obviously, we rely on our fellow officers for whatever help and stuff we need. Yeah.
So how do you engage with the different age groups and demographics within the community? Because like you said, the kids at the elementary, and then you have the kids that are a little bit more, when they strike that teenagehood area, a little bit more vulnerable and susceptible to peer pressure and getting in trouble more often. We just say that. We label it because I worked in the probation setting myself for years and years. So that's a very vulnerable age, 12, 13, 14.
And it is. The younger kids, it's where I have 3 children of my own, 2 older boys and a younger son. It kind of keeps me up to date on maybe what's going on in their lives at that age. But there is a time that with interacting with younger kids, you try to find a common ground, and where I have a son who's in grade 3, I tend to think that I'm able to get some sort of interaction going. And with my older sons, again, you have that interaction with older people because I've been through the high school years and stuff with them. And there is a point in time when kids are growing up that they don't even want to interact with their own parents, let alone police. So it can be challenging.
So we know the holiday season is just around the corner, and this lady's not quite prepared at all. I shouldn't say quite, I'm not prepared at all. But for those that are listening to us today, can you share some of the community tips that they should be aware of as far as being safe and doing things in the right way to be?
a lot of things this time of year is people will, there's always your scams are out there, which seem to increase this time of year, whether it be, phone or internet. Thefts increase this time of year, break-and-enters. Yes. Although we want to dwell on the festive part of the season, there's a negative part comes with it as well. And I think, if people are aware that this is going on in our community as well as others, it's going to really reduce the chance of being a victim to one of these types of crimes.
Be aware.
Yep.
And I do see that you're campaigning.
Second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Second guess, like if something sounds too good to be true, maybe it is.
Maybe it is. You just want a car.
Look,
they did that to my mom when I don't even like that kind of car. Hung up. Totally.
There you go.
So are there any specific initiatives, though, in place to ensure that the holiday is going to be a good one as anticipated? You hope so, but like you said, there's
every
that negative
year,
part.
we increase patrols in higher, when we're expecting more activity, patrols are increased to try and curve that, negative interaction, increase check stops to deter DUIs, and just to, try to ensure to the public that the community's safe, the community's being looked after as best we can, and ensure that everybody's going to have a great holiday.
Okay, so again, you did touch on, what your plans are and all of that, but can we get more to specific concerns that may be something the public want to weigh in on as far as what information you give? So the homeless situation, we know it's everywhere. We know it's all around the world. We know it's even in our own city.
Right.
So how does that's a concern for me. Just knowing, I think about that and the people out there cold, and so is that something that you have to deal with a lot personally in your role?
We do, and it is a tough situation. It's a hard situation to deal with. I mean, there's different times we receive calls of homeless, and whether it's a business owner or a homeowner, and they're reporting a homeless person who they feel is suspicious in their area and whatnot, and it's a lot of times, myself and fellow officers, we know these homeless people. You know them on a first name basis. They call us on a first name basis. And it's, not everybody is homeless because of wrongdoing or whatever. Some people have just, run up against, a hard time in their life.
Exactly.
And it's, not everybody out there is looking to cause harm or,
I agree. So personally, I'm one of these people, my husband and I, we lock our doors no matter what time of the day it is. It's locked first thing in the morning. It's locked all day long. I think it just comes from the roles that we have in our lives, our professions, just safety. But can you offer any other safety tips such as that? Because people, just for example, aren't locking their doors. They think, oh, no, who's going to bother me? But for elderly people living alone, I think that's one thing that should be suggested to the viewers, to lock your doors. Why not? Any other safety tips that you can offer people, even especially like you said, with the holidays just around the corner and more break-ins and things like that?
Lighting is a big thing, have your yard lit well. If you're away from your home, leave your home lit. There's nothing wrong with, leaving some lights on inside. Ask a neighbor to look in on your home if you're away. Or if there's elderly people that live next door, check in on them.
Make a call, something.
Stop in and have a coffee. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like
and
that.
They're going to be happy to see you.
Lighting's another thing I have, but that's a good tip for those people out there. Leave at least a couple of lights on.
Yeah, let your neighbors know when you're away.
Yep.
Is another thing, or family and friends to swing by and have a look. If it's a circumstance where you are away, have a house sitter if possible.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so, how can community members get involved or support the police force and you as a community services officer during this festive season?
A lot of it comes from, obviously we're out there and we try to engage as much as we can, but it's impossible for us to know of every event that's going on or every function or whatnot. So a lot of times it's, it comes back to the community contacting us with, an upcoming event, something that they're engaged in, or their group is having some sort of a function. A lot of times, we can be helped out by volunteers. We rely heavily on, volunteers from the community, public works, the fire department, paramedics, the community college. There's a whole network of people out there that volunteer time.
And the Mothers Against Drunk Driving too. I've been very busy lately, but I have been on the board for a number of years. So, Constable Lavoie, as a police community services officer, how do you promote a sense of unity and togetherness, especially during the holiday season?
I think as a police officer and as a member of the public in general, treat everybody equal. Greet everybody with a smile. We have all walks of life living in our city, and as long as everybody, treat people with respect and treat people how you would wish to be treated yourself, and I think things will roll along quite smoothly.
That's an amazing message. Thank you for that. I agree with you. And finally, as a lighthearted question to the end of this wonderful interview, what is something that you and your family do that's a holiday tradition, something fun or that you've carried on for years now?
What we've always enjoyed doing was Christmas breakfast.
Oh.
So my wife's parents, my parents who have passed in recent years always attended. My wife's brother usually attends. Sometimes a few of my brothers and sisters or whatnot. Given the fact there's 9 siblings, it's tight to squeeze everybody in. We'd have to rent a hall.
Well, thank you. I wish you all the best in your endeavor to keep this community as positively lifted up as you have been doing. And I commend you for all the work that you've been doing. I want to wish you a very happy Merry Christmas and a wonderful, safe holiday.
You as well.
Thank you.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Smudging is a very important part in our life as we're all learning to walk the good way. When we smudge, we use the sacred medicine, the white sage, the sweetgrass, the tobacco, and the cedar. It cleanses negative energy and replaces it by a positive energy. When I smudge, I cleanse my end and my eagle feather and start cleansing my breath to have better words. I will smudge my eyes so I could see the better things offered to me. I will smudge my ears to hear the good thing that people have to say. I will smudge my hair to have good thinking from my head. I will bring the smudge to my feet so I could walk in respect with our Mother, the Earth. Smudging is the way we give our prayers to connect our spirit to the Creator. We express gratitude for the gift of life, the learning, and growth.
I still remember the games, the laughter, the footsteps through the hallway. I'll never forget the hard times.
Every day I come back from work, it's always like this. We're yelling in front of the kids.
The help we needed. How far we